Who should really invest in this Kingdom Robotic 4K 3-camera package? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for a typical creator? If you've ever felt the sting of buying a PTZ system that promised professional-grade footage only to end up with shaky, underexposed clips, you're not alone. The hesitation usually comes from not knowing whether the autofocus will actually lock on a moving subject, if the 20x zoom will stay usable in dim venues, or whether you'll need a whole extra kit of lenses and accessories just to get started. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about what makes a PTZ camera package worth the investment in the first place. For a live streamer or a small business owner who wants to capture a conference room, a classroom, or a boutique storefront without a crew, the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom from a single control point is a game-changer. What Kingdom is pitching is a trio of 4K sensors, each paired with an intuitive remote that lets you dial in a 20 optical zoom without losing the crispness that 4K promises. In practice, that means you can start the camera on a wide shot of an entire stage, then, with a smooth push of the joystick, tighten in on a presenter's face without the image turning mushy. For anyone who needs that level of flexibility on a budget, the core concept lines up nicely. Now, who will actually feel the benefits? If you're a hobbyist who mostly records YouTube vlogs in a well-lit room, a single fixed 1080p webcam will probably do the job, and the extra zoom range will sit idle most of the time. On the other end of the spectrum, a full-time production house that already owns high-end cinema lenses will likely find the built-in zoom limiting compared to interchangeable glass. The sweet spot lands with semi-professional creators, small event producers, remote educators, and DIY broadcasters who need to cover multiple angles but don't want to hire a camera crew. The 3-camera bundle lets you set one unit as a static wide shot, another as a close-up, and the third as a roaming flyby for dynamic moments, all from the same control panel. When it comes to ease of use, the PTZ control is genuinely plug-and-play. You connect the units to your network via Ethernet, assign each a static IP, and the companion app pops up on your laptop or tablet. There's no need to fiddle with complex RS-232 commands or third-party software. In my tests, the menu hierarchy stays shallow, a top-level zoom, pan/tilt, and preset screen, with a single tap to save a position. That simplicity is a relief for anyone who isn't a tech-savvy operator. However, the trade-off is that the app doesn't expose advanced color grading or LUT settings, so if you're used to fine-tuning gamma curves on a Blackmagic camera, you'll feel the menu friction. Autofocus confidence is often the make-or-break point for PTZ rigs, especially when you're trying to keep a speaker's eyes sharp while they move around a stage. Kingdom's system uses phase-detect pixels across the 4K sensor, and in well-lit environments it locks onto faces within a second. The real test comes in low-light rooms where the ambient level drops below 30 lux. Here, the camera's 20 zoom magnifies the noise, and the autofocus sometimes hunts before settling. The result isn't disastrous, it still produces a usable image, but you'll notice a brief wobble in focus that can be jarring for live streams. A practical workaround is to preset a focus distance for the talking head camera and rely on manual focus for the other two units, especially if you know the presenter will stay within a predictable range. Low-light behavior is another practical concern. The sensors boast a decent dynamic range, but they lack a full-frame backside illuminated design, so in venues lit only by stage wash lights the image can become slightly grainy when you push the ISO past 1600. If you're streaming a church service where the only illumination comes from candles, you'll probably need an external lighting kit or a dedicated low-light camera. Conversely, in a conference hall with overhead LEDs and a few spotlights, the 4K resolution shines. You get crisp text on projected slides and clean edges on the speaker's podium. Stabilization is built into the lens drive rather than a separate gimbal, meaning the zoom motor is smooth but not immune to jitter when you accelerate quickly. In a typical Zoomta speaker move, the motion feels fluid, but if you try to pan from one side of a room to the other at maximum speed, a slight wobble can appear in the footage. For most talkshow or classroom settings, that won't be noticeable, but for sports or high-energy performances you might need a post-production stabilization tool. Battery confidence isn't really a factor here because the units run off power over Ethernet. That simplifies deployment. Just run a single Ethernet cable to each camera and you have power, video, and control all in one line. The downside is you're tied to a reliable network switch, and any cable failure cuts power and signal simultaneously.